Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star 2, Land of Origin based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng sat alone at the peak of the cave mansion, watching the fine rain drizzle between heaven and earth. The 3000 Void Calamity Beast diagram had immersed Luo Feng so deeply that he had only reached the 8th level before temporarily stopping, partly because his spirit felt tired and needed rest, and partly because he needed to pause and ponder carefully. The experience of a catastrophe beast differs from that of normal cultivators, Luo Feng reflected. From the moment of its birth, it faces relentless calamities, each designed to drive it to total despair and utter destruction. The world of cultivators still had order. But what the catastrophe beasts experienced was endless calamity. If at any moment they gave up in despair, they would die. Only with an heart of eternality can one survive the endless calamities. Each disaster forges them anew. Having survived one, they face another. Such seemingly endless calamities, just understanding the essence makes me shudder, Luo Feng thought to himself. He, too, had undergone trials and tests of life and death, but not as many as those experienced by the catastrophe beast. Each calamity seemed to be ordained by some high and mighty law, Luo Feng mused, sensing this high law was different from the highest laws. The spirit appears to be the most fragile. Once the spiritual will shatters, even if one possesses a powerful divine body and powerful secret treasure weapons, one cannot exert one's full strength. But if the spirit is strong, just by sheer willpower, enemies can be swept away. The heart is a weakness, but it can also be the most powerful weapon. At that moment, Luo Feng also felt some admiration for the catastrophe beast. Having survived so many dreadful calamities, it finally reached the other shore, completely transforming itself. Suddenly, Luo Feng felt that inside his body, the Star Tower, Morosa was asking to come out. Master! Master, let me out, Morosa communicated telepathically. Upon Luo Feng's intention, Morosa appeared out of thin air beside him. Morosa lay down contentedly as he watched the drizzle outside, comfortably rubbing his belly. The corpse of Shuiyun is still in the Star Tower. How come you're resting? Luo Feng looked at him, fully aware of everything inside the Star Tower. I'm a bit overfull, Morosa lied comfortably, communicating telepathically. I first absorbed other eternal true god corpses, which were only marginally helpful. But Yuqian Shu's corpse is too strong and its bloodline so special that I'm stuffed and can't digest it right away. Even a sector beast could become overfull if it ate too rapidly. The fact that Yuqian Shu could cultivate to make his divine body comparable to unlimited divine bodies testified to the terrifying nature of his bloodline. You can get stuffed too. Luo Feng teased telepathically. I feel that if I digest for a while, even without absorbing any more divine bodies, I could suffice to reach the primal chaos realm for dozens of eras. Morosa excitedly stood up, transmitting, Master, if I continue to absorb the divine body of Shuiyun after some days, I believe I could directly enter the primal chaos realm after completely absorbing it. Luo Feng was astonished. So soon you want to enter the primal chaos realm? Luo Feng looked at him. Yuqian Shu's divine body, comparable to the unlimited divine bodies, is just smaller in size, yet his bloodline is extraordinary. The divine body of Shuiyun attracts me even more than Yuqian Shu's, Morosa telepathically communicated. I am certain, once I have absorbed the divine body of Shuiyun, I will certainly achieve the primal chaos realm. Master, when will you achieve the primal chaos realm? Morosa telepathically communicated, deliberately asking. Luo Feng looked at him. How are your will cultivation techniques coming along? Later on, inside the Star Tower, how about we spar and test out the secret technique of willpower? Morosa gamely grinned. Go and teach Qingyang, That kid has yet to grasp even the 10 fundamental laws, Luo Feng urged. Yes, yes, Morosa didn't boast, instantly transforming into a shadow, and flying towards the mountain base to find Mo Yu Qingyang. Luo Feng slightly shook his head. Days passed, and Luo Feng, aside from resting every few days, spent his time on understanding the calamity beast diagram. Suddenly one day, Master, Mo Yu Qingyang urgently transmitted. What is it? Luo Feng was currently inside the underground hall of the Star Tower, delving into the calamity beast diagram. He knew Mo Yu Qingyang wouldn't disturb him lightly. There's a letter for you, said to be a personal letter from the Marquis of Liu Yin. Mo Yu Qingyang felt pressured, as a personal letter from a primal chaos overlord naturally couldn't be ignored by the master. Boom. The door of the underground hall opened. Luo Feng walked out, his figure flashing, and he soon arrived at the main entrance of the cave mansion. Lord Luo He, standing at the cave mansion's main entrance, was a rock creature, who smiled accommodatingly. I am Chen Shijiu from Qian Shi Commerce Association, entrusted by the Marquis of Liu Yin of Shi Kingdom to deliver this personal letter to you. The Qian Shi Commerce Association was also a major commerce association spread across multiple nations, backed by several godly kings, and likewise had a branch in Huyang City. Thank you, Chairman Chen. Luo Feng knew the other's identity. Just delivering a letter, so I'll take my leave now, the rock creature said with a smile. As the chairman of the Qian Shi Commerce Association branch in Huyang City, his status and influence were top tier within the city, but he remained very humble in front of Luo Feng. Luo Feng took the letter and watched the other leave. The door closed, and Luo Feng's figure flashed as he already reached the top of the mountain. He immediately began to examine the letter. As he peeled away the outer layer of the seal, the letter burst into flames, burning into a mass of blood-red fire, startling Luo Feng slightly. A divine power incarnation. Luo Feng naturally realized that a strand of terrifying divine power was hidden within the letter, which was triggered as he opened it. The blood-red flames coalesced into a figure clad in dark red armor, vaguely emitting an aura of dark disaster, smiling at Luo Feng with eyes that were two blazing orbs of blood-red flames. Even as he smiled, Luo Feng still felt an ominous terror, carrying a strong threat. Marquis Liu Yin. Luo Feng was also somewhat familiar with simple information about Marquis Liu Yin. It is I, Marquis Liu Yin nodded with a smile. I heard about a remarkable eternal true God in Huyang City, and I came to meet him in person. The Marquis flatters me. Compared to you, we eternal true gods are not worth mentioning, Luo Feng immediately replied. Today you are an eternal true god. Perhaps in the future, you will also be a primal chaos overlord. A peer of mine, Marquis Liu Yin, stood atop a mountain looking at the vast city, Huyang City, a beautiful city indeed. I intend to make it part of my fiefdom. What do you think? Luo Feng immediately said. The conflict between Liu Yin Primal Chaos State and Zhujiang Primal Chaos Prefecture is not something an eternal true god like me can decide. Marquis Liu Yin gazed at the vast heaven and earth, sighing. In the land of origin, powers are mixed, every resource has its master. Even godly kings often have no chance to intervene in the most precious resources. Those of us who want to ascend the path of cultivation, evolving to higher levels of life. Personal cultivation is one part, resources are another. Marquis Liu Yin looked at Luo Feng. The fiefdom of a primal chaos overlord can produce resources endlessly. Unfortunately, I only have one primal chaos state as my fiefdom, too small. Luo Feng listened. According to the rules of Shi Kingdom, a primal chaos overlord has only one primal chaos state as a fiefdom. Want something bigger? You have to conquer it yourself, Marquis Liu Yin commented. Zhujiang Primal Chaos State adjacent to mine is my perfect target. For my path of cultivation, I need to expand my fiefdom, stated Marquis Liu Yin. No one can stop me, for stopping me is to obstruct my path of cultivation. The voice of Marquis Liu Yin carried an unshakable will. If the Marquis of Zhujiang obstructs me, I will handle him personally. Marquis Liu Yin looked at Luo Feng, and at the level of an eternal true god, your single-handed power can surpass the entire army of Huyang City. I hope you do not intervene in this matter. If you do not intervene, I will send you a gift, and we can also be friends. If you intervene, messing up my plans, Marquis Liu Yin looked at Luo Feng. Think about it. Is it worth it to risk your life for an unrelated Marquis of Zhujiang? After finishing, the figure of Marquis Liu Yin dissipated. Saw the novel .net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Knowing Luo Feng's intelligence after understanding his loathing of evil, and that he was difficult to use, Marquis Liu Yin decided to intimidate him a bit. A retreat on Luo Feng's part would naturally be good. Even if unsuccessful, there was no loss for him. This Marquis Liu Yin seems very intent on seizing Zhujiang Primal Chaos Prefecture. Luo Feng slightly frowned. Clearly even Primal Chaos overlords cared greatly about the continuous resource output of their fiefdoms. I should still act with caution in my future actions, thought Luo Feng. In fact, Luo Feng had never truly intended to risk his life for the Marquis of Zhujiang. Whether it was the regular conduct of the 5 great families of the city owner's mansion, or preparing himself to cope with the future kings of Shi Kingdom, there was no need to put himself in jeopardy. Marquis Liu Yin coming to see me personally, this Huyang city, and even the entire Zhujiang Primal Chaos Prefecture, might be about to face a war. Luo Feng thought for a while, then returned to the underground hall. The ownership of Zhujiang Primal Chaos Prefecture should worry the Marquis of Zhujiang, the godly kings of Yu Kingdom, not himself. How many benefits were there really, to warrant risking his life? Inside the Star Tower, Luo Feng sat cross-legged, gazing at the 3000 Void Calamity Beast diagram floating in mid-air. At the 533rd layer, the Catastrophe Beast faced battle after battle, during which it also encountered some companions. Luo Feng could see on the reflected void diagram, besides the Catastrophe Beast, there were some similar catastrophe creatures, but its companions fell one by one, some even killed by the Catastrophe Beast itself. At the 679th layer, the Catastrophe Beast had no more companions. At this moment it was even more lonely, yet even more powerful. Its spiritual will grew more terrifying, solving all the calamities it faced. Luo Feng vaguely sensed a path of telepathic cultivation, belonging to the Catastrophe Beast's telepathy method. At over 600 layers, the Catastrophe Beast's spiritual will had grown terrifyingly, far surpassing Luo Feng at that moment, capable of causing the vast heaven and earth to vanish and the intangible laws of calamity to collapse with just a thought. A whisper of realization from Luo Feng made him feel his own spirit also slowly transforming. At the 852nd layer, the Catastrophe Beast encountered the most terrifying calamity ever, another similar Catastrophe Beast. The two beasts fought a battle to the death. This terrifying battle lasted a long time, until the 873rd layer in the void reflection diagram, the Catastrophe Beast finally triumphed, undergo a significant transformation during this victory. Luo Feng, just by observing the 3000 Void Calamity Beast diagram, and from the imageries of these scrolls, felt as though he was growing alongside the Catastrophe Beast, and he gained a lot from it. A heart can be large or small, large enough to be an enemy of the supreme laws, small enough to merge with countless lesser beings. After merging with numerous lesser beings, it can match the highest supreme. At the 873rd layer, as the Catastrophe Beast triumphed and transformed completely, Luo Feng perceived more of the Catastrophe Beast's method of telepathic cultivation, his own spirit also slowly transforming. Long since an eternal true God, he had been at the peak of a primal chaos overlord's will. Nurtured in a formidable godly body, honed under the secret technique of L. Spiritual will had at that moment entirely stepped into a new realm. If before Luo Feng's spiritual will was tenacious and indestructible, not shaken even if the world ends, can cut through all obstacles on the path, then at this moment Luo Feng's spiritual will had gained an additional layer of nuance. Spiritual will, when gathered, can be as unstoppable as the heavens and earth. When divided, it can branch into billions, endlessly bursting with vitality. Even if Luo Feng's spiritual will was subjected to a terrible attack, as long as a trace remained, it could rapidly recover to its pinnacle. This was the heart of eternality, that Luo Feng had comprehended from the calamity beast diagram. Possessing the heart of eternality was the key to overcoming countless calamities, and reaching the final shore, to truly transform oneself. My spiritual will had long ago reached the peak level of a primal chaos overlord. Yet even becoming an eternal true God, with a godly body 100 billion times stronger, and after cultivating the Lai Yuan technique for more than 24 eras, I still hadn't made a breakthrough. It was all because I lacked an essential understanding. Without an essential understanding, one can only rely on the passage of time to refine oneself. I'm afraid that only after several thousand, or even tens of thousands of eras of refining the Lai Yuan technique, can the breakthrough to a godly king's will occur. Luo Feng suddenly had this enlightenment. Time is indeed magical. With long periods of refinement, there will eventually be rewards. But the fact that I could make a breakthrough in such a short time owes much to the 3000 void calamity beast diagram, which has transformed my understanding of spiritual will. I've only grasped the mere basics of the calamity beast diagram, and yet I've transformed. How terrifying must the actual calamity beasts be? Luo Feng wondered. With this transformation of will, my strength has finally increased significantly. Facing a primal chaos overlord, I now have means to respond. Luo Feng felt considerably more at ease. In the past, it was the pinnacle primal chaos will combined with the Lai Yuan technique, but the ancient primal chaos overlords possessed a variety of inheritances, all with rather formidable secret techniques of willpower, and even those with exceptional talent could comprehend the origin great Tao to create their own secret technique of willpower. Their will, even if not reaching the pinnacle of primal chaos, generally would not differ by much. Therefore, once they engaged in battle, if the gap in willpower was not significant, then merely relying on the advantage of the Lai Yuan technique would make it difficult to defeat the opponent. An injured primal chaos overlord could still launch a frenzied counterattack. According to my master's intelligence, amongst the primal chaos overlords, only a few have spiritual wills that have broken through to the godly king level. Luo Feng thought, below the level of a godly king's will, it's likely that none can match me. A godly king's will and the pinnacle primal chaos will are fundamentally different. With the advantage of the Lai Yuan technique, I would be more than sufficient to sweep through most of the primal chaos realm. As my strength increases, the advantage of the Lai Yuan technique will also diminish. Luo Feng understood this point. According to my master's information, Yuan in the land of origin is a legend who has escaped the braided cage. He has also guided many juniors and left behind some inheritances. The Lai Yuan technique is just one among them. The inheritances left by Yuan indeed caused a scramble among the various forces in the land of origin, with the majority ultimately being controlled by the two ancient countries. Moreover, my master suspects that there must also be some ancient beings in the two ancient countries who have broken free from the braided cage, because those countries are far too strong compared to others, with many mysterious and powerful inheritances, Luo Feng mused. For instance, the Emperor of the Flame-Wind ancient country who painted this drawing. I've only grasped a bit of the fundamentals, and yet I've made a breakthrough. And he had watched the calamity beasts and personally painted many calamity beast diagrams. Luo Feng had some understanding that these calamity beast diagrams were sold to outsiders for 15 million cosmic sand each. But to that Emperor of the Flame-Wind ancient country, he probably didn't care about the cosmic sand at all. What he cared about were the repeated drawings of the Calamity Beast diagrams. Each time he drew, it must have been an act of spiritual cultivation. That emperor who drew the Calamity Beast diagrams, to what realm has his spiritual will reached? Luo Feng could sense, even from just a part of the 3000 void Calamity Beast diagram, how vast the gap between himself and the painter was. My spiritual will has just entered the threshold of a godly king's level. And what about him? The flame-wind ancient country is indeed unfathomable. If one emperor is so terrifying, there are probably more than one of such beings. The higher Luo Feng's strength rose, the more serene he became. He had not a hint of arrogance, knowing there were many stronger than him. But he also had not a trace of inferiority, for even at the stage of an eternal true God, he possessed a godly king's will. When he becomes a godly king in the future, to what realm will his spiritual will reach? Sigh. Luo Feng glanced at the 3000 void Calamity Beast diagram floating in the air, and with a single thought, he left the Star Tower. When Luo Feng exited the underground hall, he saw Morosa leisurely eating and drinking at the foot of the mountain. It's been so long, and you're still not done digesting. Luo Feng took a step and approached Morosa. Morosa smiled naively. I can't waste the effects, I need to fully digest them. I guess in a few more days, I can go into seclusion again. Luo Feng nodded in understanding. Going into seclusion again meant that it was time for Morosa to consume the divine body of Shuiyun to achieve the primal chaos realm. When the time comes, my realm will also break through, and I'll master several innate secret techniques, Morosa communicated through his spirit. I can also show the master the complete law of primal chaos. Let's see your performance, Luo Feng smiled faintly. The higher Morosa's realm, the more mysteries of destruction's origin he could show to Luo Feng, which naturally included the law of primal chaos. The law of primal chaos is magical, the foundation of any origin great Tao. The sector beast is indeed the favored child of the highest rules, naturally mastering the origin of destruction, and, with growth, would ultimately fully control the great Tao of destruction origin, possessing inconceivable abilities. Master, I feel you're a bit different today, Morosa observed Luo Feng, for as a soul-enslaved servant, with their spirits connected, he could faintly sense the changes in his master. I've had some realizations in my cultivation, Luo Feng said. You go ahead and eat slowly. Luo Feng flashed and was already at the mountain peak. Morosa glanced over and muttered under his breath, some insights. Keep having insights, but I've already become primal chaos realm. The taste of being stronger than his own master, Morosa found it particularly exhilarating. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Hometown, Luo Feng's small universe. Luo Feng and his wife, Xu Xin, were leisurely exploring. Their small universe had a diameter of 100 billion light-years, and human civilization was extremely flourishing. Although Luo Feng could sense countless planets within the small universe with a thought that would make it boring, he chose not to deliberately probe, and instead enjoyed touring different places with his wife, discovering fresh new experiences. Luo Feng, let's go. Accompany me to see the divine tree on this planet. Just one planet, and yet over 70% of it is made up of a single divine tree. It's so interesting, Xu Xin said. You go ahead, Luo Feng said. I have something to do today. I should go first. Xu Xin was startled. Can't you just send a divine power incarnation to handle your affairs? You don't have the energy to accompany me. Her husband's realm was so high, he could manage many divine power incarnations simultaneously with a single thought. Today is different, Luo Feng shook his head. Even my true body at the other end of the samsara channel needs to rest and give this my all. What is it? Xu Xin asked curiously. Dealing with the primordial cosmos, Luo Feng said. Xu Xin was shocked. Dealing with the primordial cosmos. Yes. I needed to completely open up the source ground of the primordial cosmos to me, Luo Feng said. During the last reincarnation era, when the primordial cosmos was destroyed, I entered the source ground of the primordial cosmos. Back then, the primordial cosmos only allowed me into a small corner of the source ground. Now, I wanted to open up every part of the source ground of the primordial cosmos to me, without any hidden areas, Luo Feng continued. The information from the Master, from the Duandong River lineage, and even some information circulated on the land of origin all had records about the primordial cosmos. The primordial cosmos, with its 3,000 dimensions, allowed strong beings who braved the cycle of reincarnation to arrive on the land of origin a chance, if their will was strong enough to seize control of the primordial cosmos. However, the will of the primordial cosmos was generally very strong. It often required a primal chaos level will, and possibly even a godly king level will to be successful. Thus, those who successfully seized control were still few and far between. But for every successful individual, the benefits for their cultivation were substantial. It's individuals like the mountain-sitting guest, who were already godly kings, that didn't have much ambition to seize control of the primordial cosmos. Completely opens up every part of the source ground. Shushin didn't quite understand, but she knew from listening that it was extraordinary. In that situation, the life and death of the primordial cosmoses would be in my hands, Luo Feng explained. I could erase its will at any time, replacing it with my own, and control the entire primordial cosmos. So, the will of the primordial cosmos won't agree to it easily. I never thought about having to erase its will. I'll give it a chance to live, provided it opens up the source ground to me completely, Luo Feng said. This was the biggest opportunity for every strong being that came to the land of origin through the cycle of reincarnation. Are you confident? Shushin asked. I wasn't in the past, but now I am, Luo Feng said. According to the information, even if the naturally born will of the primordial cosmos used the cosmos as its vessel, it couldn't contend with a godly king-level will. Be careful, Shushin knew the importance of her husband's task. The one that needs to be careful is the primordial cosmos, Luo Feng said with a slight smile. At this moment, a strand of divine power incarnation had already left the small universe and was traveling through the void, heading straight for the primordial cosmos. At this moment, Luo Feng's true body and other incarnations were resting, with almost all of his consciousness focused on this strand of divine power incarnation, making its consciousness exceptionally vast. Boom tilde tilde tilde, this strand of divine power incarnation had barely approached the primordial cosmos, when an invisible wave of spiritual will crushed down. One was a weak divine power incarnation. Search * the novel, F.I.et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The other was the immeasurably vast primordial cosmos. Without the constraints of the supreme laws, when Luo Feng's spiritual will collided with the primordial cosmos, the will of the primordial cosmos began to tremble. A vibration came through, inquiring about Luo Feng's purpose. Will of the primordial cosmos, you should know that, as a creature born from the primordial cosmos, being powerful enough gives me the right to control it. This is an opportunity for cultivation granted to me by the supreme laws, Luo Feng's thoughts conveyed. The will of the primordial cosmos sent back vibrations, a mix of annoyance and urgency. You understand, you can't threaten me, Luo Feng continued to convey his thoughts. I give you two choices. One is to open up the source ground of the primordial cosmos to me completely, leaving no secrets from my sight. Your will would still exist, and could still control the primordial cosmos. The other option is to refuse me, and my will would invade the primordial cosmos, even into the source ground. Then, I will erase your will and completely control the primordial cosmos. The will of the primordial cosmos sent out waves, it was negotiating. The source ground was very important to it, Just as the true God's heart was to a true God, if completely opened, Luo Feng could erase it at any moment, and it would be powerless to resist. It only wanted to open up a part, unwilling to expose its most core areas. This video will end here.